Hey, what's up everyone? This is Naresh with Schizofish, and today we're talking about Jenova. But before that, don't forget to spam that subscribe button until it explodes! Today we're going to talk about Jenova, with her name meaning new god. She is the calamity from the sky. I believe Jenova causes the end of the world, Gaia goodbye, and the deaths of all our heroes, and that is the future that Sephiroth is trying to change in the remake. Now this video takes off of my first video about the ending, titled Sephiroth's Vision of Cloud's Death, where I explained the remake's ending using what the game actually gives me. That way I reduce speculation. I do this by using all of Sephiroth's dialogue within the game itself, because he's actually there telling you the story. So if you haven't checked out that video, check it out, because this video is going to make a whole lot more sense if you do that first. Thank you all for the love and support on that video, by the way, because we got thousands of views, lots of feedback, and it's all been phenomenal. I am going to clear up a big part of that video because I got some feedback from people who they didn't quite get what I was inferring in the video. And I am specifically referring to the matter where I talk about why Sephiroth is even there trying to save Cloud from a future death. You see, a lot of people were quick to say Sephiroth's trying to save Cloud because Sephiroth and Cloud are tied together. If Cloud dies, Sephiroth can't come back. No. This is not necessarily the case for the remake. I believe all the Sephiroths you see in the game are completely independent of Cloud's existence. Don't need Cloud to survive. None of them. Now we all know Cloud being alive is a damn good failsafe for Sephiroth in case he dies. But the Sephiroth of this Cloud's timeline dimension is alive and well at Northern Crater. This Sephiroth has absolutely no reason to be dependent on Cloud to survive because that Sephiroth has not died yet. It was only after he was defeated by Cloud and company that he found himself dissolving into the live stream, and he fought to remain conscious by using Cloud's memories of him. But again, in the timeline of the remake, this did not happen yet. In the first video, I mentioned that there's at least two different Sephiroths in the game. One in the remake that's at Northern Crater, and the other one is Space-Time Sephiroth, who is here from an alternate dimensional timeline to save Cloud and to try to get Cloud to help him defy destiny. But once again, these lines of dialogue show that even this Sephiroth is independent from Cloud. He says this world will become a part of it one day, but I will not end, nor will I have you end. Not, I will not end because I will not have you end. There is a huge difference in the structure of these sentences. It implies Sephiroth simply chose to keep him alive, not that he depends on it. By choice, not by necessity. Now, why is the Sephiroth even here talking to a Cloud from this dimension, trying to save him from a certain demise? It's because the Cloud in his dimension is already dead, guys, because otherwise there's no point to this. He can just stay in his dimension and save that Cloud. That also means that this Sephiroth acted independently even after that Cloud died. Ergo, he didn't need Cloud to live at that point because he's still here and managed to travel to a whole different dimensional timeline. Now you could say maybe he needs this Cloud to live, and then because Cloud died over there in his dimension, he then has to come to this timeline so he can live. Let me explain why this notion is completely ridiculous. And if this was true, it opens up a whole bunch of plot holes, because it basically means that Sephiroth's immortal. Now that Nomura has created a whole multiverse with different number of Clouds, then one Sephiroth can survive as long as any of these Clouds survive. It's a pointless scenario and not likely what the developers were going for. I think this Sephiroth is independent in that he's whooping everybody in the final sequence. The body doesn't clone out like it did in the other Sephiroth instances or in Advent Children after the fight is over. Keep in mind, the moment Sephiroth came back in Advent Children to fight Cloud, he was already independent of Cloud's existence, physically there to beat up Cloud. If Cloud doesn't defeat him right there and then, Sephiroth isn't just disappearing for the fun of it. He would be there to stay, guys. That was the point of the movie. So the Sephiroth here whooping everyone at the end of the remake, he's already independent of Cloud, period. And remember, in the live stream literature, it's noted Sephiroth is always looking for a way to return, not always off of memories. He's trying to solidify his existence again. Maybe he found a way, because we have no idea how far in the future this Sephiroth's even from. So he's here trying to save Cloud from dying. He wants Cloud to join him to defy destiny. Sephiroth says the whole world will become a part of it one day, while looking off into the edge of creation. What the hell happens to the world and Cloud that Sephiroth came back to try and prevent that future? Did Gaia just have like a 2020 year and everything just went to shit? I'll tell you what I think. Jenova happened. Yes, Jenova, the entity people don't talk about enough. Everything in the game boils down to a single Jenova cell. All of the world's woes are because of Jenova. The calamity from the skies, people. What exactly is Jenova? Jenova is an alien that travels the cosmos, moving from planet to planet. It's considered a planet eater or destroyer. And if Jenova's starting to sound a lot like Pennywise the Clown, then yes, you're right. They've actually got a lot in common. They both come from outer space and take the form of something from the planet that they inhabit, and are considered planet eaters. And they have a keen ability to manipulate people and cause hallucinations or visions and make people question reality. More accurately, Jenova is more like the spawn of Pennywise the Clown and John Carpenter's The Thing. The Thing and Jenova are similar in that every cell of Jenova's body acts as a parasitic entity that will seek to control its host and recreate its original form. It is noted that Jenova can turn into other life forms, copying it perfectly, assimilating their physical appearance and mind. Also, Jenova can infect others, turning them into crazed, monstrous beings. Now let's take a look at Jenova's story. On the surface, we know that Jenova came to the planet about 2,000 years ago. Now Jenova emerges from the crash site on a planet that is inhabited by the Sephiroth. Ifalna, Aerith's mother, says Jenova took the form of their dead loved ones and befriended them, but then infected them, turning them into monsters. Jenova killed off most of the Sephiroth in what could be considered a near genocide. The planet then created the weapons to fight Jenova. The weapons never did end up fighting Jenova, but a few surviving Sephiroth banded together to fight Jenova. Now, while they did defeat her, they didn't destroy her. Instead, they sealed Jenova away in a geological stratum. Now, Professor Gas finds Jenova, believing her to be an ancient. Shinra then attempt to use the body to create people who could use the ancient's abilities to talk to the planet and find the promised land, where they then would suck it dry of all of its Mako. Now, Jenova is actually seen throughout the original Final Fantasy VII because the Sephiroth you see is actually a Jenova clone, as Sephiroth's over at Northern Crater. Now, without a doubt, Sephiroth is depicted as outright the most villainous character in Final Fantasy VII, and Jenova is just in the background, constantly doing his bidding, fighting our heroes, and then just dies. But we know the cells didn't die. They keep coming back. They actually infect people and Advent children. It infected people all over the world in the instance the life stream came out to help stop Meteor. That means Jenova cells were abundant in the life stream. So abundant, it affected people all around the world. And where does this abundance come from? For starters, Jenova, when first reaching the planet, infected the ancients on a global scale, nearly wiping them from the face of the planet. Everyone who's infected then dies and becomes a part of the life stream. However, the Jenova cells aren't necessarily being wiped away. Each cell in the life stream is an infection. Later on, you have Shinra, who find Jenova, confuse her for an ancient, start doing experiments and putting her blood in everyone and multiplying the cells, basically doing Jenova's job for her. Which, side note, could be the reason why she's considered dormant. She don't have to do much. Thanks a lot, Shinra. So out of all the creatures that died with Jenova cells infecting their body, now in the live stream makes a surprise appearance to stop Meteor, spreading its green little aura all over the world, carrying Jenova cells all along with it, infecting people on a global scale. Meaning, the cells didn't die, guys. They were there the whole time. So they were still there in the live stream. And in Avid Children, you see what's supposedly Aerith's great gospel, where she creates this healing pond where everyone jumps in and they're healed of the disease. Whew, that was a close call. Jenova cells gone, right? Right? No? Yes, the water came out, healed everyone of geostigma. First off, the pool was just in the church. You're telling me the whole world of people infected with Jenova cells happened to, all go to this church? You're also telling me that the whole world had rain that day? There was just one rain cloud, Earth was just pushing all over the world? Hey, you missed a spot. So here's the thing. There's more than one person infected with cells. Cloud's infected with the cells, but also, let's say, Lucrezia also is infected with the cells. In the game, she even states she can't die because the Jenova cells won't let her. The countless experiments that were done in Nibelheim, the cells are still rampant. Even if one single cell of Jenova is alive, then there's a good chance it can infect someone, control it as the host, to bring back its original form. This is the reason why there's no end to Jenova. What this tells me is that Cloud was healed of the geostigma. So in Advent Children, it's explained by Vincent that the disease is not the Jenova cells. The disease is actually the body overcompensating when it's trying to get rid of Jenova cells. So what did the water healing thing really do? Maybe it just gave the body more control over itself and it stops it from overcompensating, but the cells are still there, like an antibody. Or maybe it really did take the cells out the body, but we already know the cells didn't die. Now, what I mean by the cells out the body is if you look at Advent Children, the movie, you can see when Cloud gets healed, it has this weird life stream effect. It's almost like it was like an amputation. Instead of chopping off Cloud's arm, what it did was take the actual life or spirit energy part of that body and just peel it away. And maybe it took the Jenova cells with it. But we know the cells don't die because that would be a big plot hole. Because if Aerith can do this and heal the world of all Jenova cells, then why didn't the Asians do it? People that actually were more proficient in being able to talk to the planet and heal and use magic, and they would have did that shit 2,000 years ago. Yeah, Jenova was here for 2,000 years. They wouldn't have just stopped at her being sealed in geological stratum. They didn't want her becoming a part of the life stream. Maybe the Cetra knew they couldn't kill Jenova. They were super smart and knew they couldn't risk Jenova being a part of the life stream more than it already was. They didn't want her in there at all. That's what I believe. Otherwise, they could just dug her up and stuck an axe in it. But they didn't. But for 2,000 years, if you're telling me Shinra can find them, but the ancients can't, I highly doubt that. These people could talk to the planet. The planet can find it. So yes, I do believe there's still people out there with Jenova cells. I'm sure Aerith missed a spot, and I'm sure people still have the cells in them. That is why I'm going to say, regardless of which one it is, or a combination of all, as long as there's one person out there with cells, this story has not ended. Jenova's out there and she's coming back. She spreads like wildfire, puts her hand in water, and all of a sudden everything goes black. That infection spreads fast. And if she's spreading, she's gonna find a way to come back together. A reunion is bound to happen, or her taking over the live stream, just filling it with cells, is also gonna happen. It is said while Sephiroth's in the crater, he actually has control over the Jenova's cells, his consciousness beating out Jenova's will, confirmed by the Ultimania Omega that came out a while back. So now, even though they say that Sephiroth had control, it doesn't mean that it was completely Sephiroth acting on his own. We have a line from the original where it's Jenova's only line in the game, where she tells Cloud, "You are just a puppet." This may very well be the case for Sephiroth himself. He could just be a puppet. People speculate that Sephiroth learning of how he was produced isn't the only factor of why he went mad. In the game, it says that Jenova's cells infecting people caused him to become monstrous, crazed beings. I'm sure the deeper he dove into the story and his acceptance of his own Jenova cell makeup, Jenova's over there talking to him and probably gave him a little push into madness. I mean, first off, you mean to tell me that an alien existence as powerful as Jenova, who can survive a crash from outer space onto the planet, creating a giant freaking crater on the planet, who then wipes out an entire population on the planet, who then can't even be defeated, they gotta seal it away. The planet even makes giant Godzilla-like monsters to fight it. You're telling me that this person travels planet to planet destroying them and can even survive for thousands of years? Being controlled by 27-year-old Sephiroth? I say no way. And here's why. Jenova seems way too powerful for all that and has had more than enough time to sit there and plot how she plans to take the planet. And this is for sure the future, the fate of the world that Sephiroth is trying to prevent in the remake. I believe Jenova destroys the planet and moves on into the cosmos, and Sephiroth survives to enjoy the journey, but it's not the journey that he wanted. Maybe because Jenova is the one in control at that point, and he seeks to keep Cloud around, alive, to help him defy destiny. This line is so symbolic because you have Sephiroth here trying to defy destiny and needing Cloud's help. The arbiters of fate are gone. Aerith believes she's listening to the planet, and Sephiroth is wrong. But is this really the case? Those who see with clouded eyes see nothing but shadows. So take note, everybody, because I'm about to explain how all the events of FF7 could all be a part of Jenova's overall plan, the Endgame. Now, Jenova has learned the planet's secrets while in the life stream. Over 2,000 years. So what if Jenova found a way to make a successful reunion with all her pieces that exist to come back together and create a whole new Jenova being? What if Sephiroth loses control of that Jenova, but remains in control of himself, and then tries to go back into a different time where he can then enlist the help of Cloud and company? Now, maybe Sephiroth can travel time because Jenova already figured it out. What if in the live stream over 2,000 years, Jenova's already plotted a course for the planet? Take this line from the original, guys. Super important. Jenova says that it has learned the planet's secrets through the live stream, the knowledge of the ancients and more, and will create the future. This line is so important to me and it resonates with everything going on in the remake. Think about it. It's not just with the timelines, but I'm talking about with Aerith and Sephiroth and how they're acting all shady and doing weird shit. And this whole thing about the arbiters of fate and destiny. As the whole remake goes on, it is mentioned over and over again. And there's a certain destiny that everyone's supposed to follow, which poses the same questions Barrett asked. Because if the planet is controlling destiny and has a certain destiny that everyone's supposed to follow, what happens to everyone if destiny is set on a course of destruction, on a bleak path for everyone? And Red 13 basically replies, it is the will of the planet from inception to oblivion. This whole concept of a bleak future for the planet and that the planet has to stay on that course because that's the will of the planet? Newsflash, everybody. I don't think it was the will of the planet, guys, to get hit in the face with a parasitic planet-eating alien from outer space. It's not like the planet would have seen that coming from the depths of space and already plotted that as part of its fate. This is not the fate the planet had for itself or its inhabitants. So if the planet had a destiny it was moving towards, Jenova changed everything. But then again, Jenova's over there saying, I will create the future. The line is so telling, like you have control over time itself. Hello, enter timeline disruptions and requels. And that line that the planet will guide the future from inception to oblivion, even if it's a bleak future? Look at the Whispers. They look like the black robe dudes that are going to the reunion. And all of the Jenova cell purple hue things, the Whispers have it, the Arbiters of Fate have it, Sephiroth has it. If this isn't indicative that Jenova has some play in this, especially the way Sephiroth can absorb them all in that final sequence, looking like a purple Super Saiyan, sure looks like Jenova's got a hand in things to me. And the Arbiter of Fate looks a lot different than the planetary weapons that we're used to seeing. So what if Jenova, in the live stream, the same way the planet created the weapons, created a weapon of its own called the Arbiters of Fate? Even if the Arbiters of Fate were there before, maybe she put it under her control. So Jenova came to the planet, got defeated by the Setro, but then plotted and found her way a new plan in which the heroes have no idea. Aerith has no idea. They believe it's the will of the planet itself, but everything may be going according to Jenova's plan. Even with the death of Sephiroth, the person that was said to have control over her cells, maybe Sephiroth needed to die for her true plan to take place, where she infects the life stream of the planet and destroys it along with everything in it, absorbing Omega Weapon and then leaving the planet to ash and dust, to go travel the cosmos. Let's remember that the remake is supposed to be a part of the original compilation of Dirge's Cerberus, Advent Children, Crisis Core, etc. And it was mentioned in Dirge's Cerberus the idea of Omega Weapon. So I believe a lot of the story that they built around the compilation has a lot to do with each other. So this idea of sailing the cosmos, absorbing the life stream, makes a lot of sense to me when you add in the idea of Omega Weapon. And like I said in the original video, the remake's point is to put a definite end to our beloved villains, Jenova and Sephiroth, for good, because before the remake there was no end to either. So our heroes may rid the world of Sephiroth and the Jenova cells in the live stream, even in Cloud. Maybe Cloud pays the ultimate sacrifice. Maybe Cloud ends up killing himself to get rid of the Jenova cells, or maybe Cloud in the remake will overpower Sephiroth and Jenova with his own will and control it himself in order to save the world and defeat it. By the way, you can't just kill Sephiroth and expect that to be the end of the game because of the Jenova cells. Jenova will play a major part in this remake because you have to defeat it to finish the series. Maybe Sephiroth needs Cloud to be alive, so then together they both have the strength to then fight Jenova and fight the consciousness of the Jenova cells. I for one can't wait to see how this unfolds and to see the truth about the calamity from the skies, Jenova, and all her true power. Imagine just how powerful it is. In the entire original series, you're fighting the hand, the foot, the leg, whatever, the head. What happens when you put all the pieces together and you have to fight that being? That's like Yu-Gi-Oh! Using all 5 cards to summon Exodia. Game over. Maybe we'll see that true form in action. So what do you think? With this information, what ideas come into your head? Do you agree or disagree? Join our Discord to join in the discussion. Also, we've been getting a lot of love and support on our Twitch community. Join that as well if you want to see us play games live or we just have a shit show of the time. I'll see you there.